Sorry, there's so much growth that you can hear when you're listening to California Rain, and the album feels so personal but universal. What's played the biggest role in your development as an artist, songwriter, instrumentalist, and producer?
I mean, I think it's just a lot of trial and error with anything really, is like finding that sound and releasing more music and making more music. Like I'm just out here making a song every day pretty much. And so I'm just picking my favorites and the ones that I kind of gravitate towards the most. And I think, when you do that pretty much every day, you can see the growth over, years at a time, year over year. I always look back and I think at any given moment I'm making the best song I think I can make. And then I look back a year later and I'm like, I can't believe I thought that a year ago because I just made this song and this song is so
Yeah.
much better. And that growth is like really a driving factor for me, is like getting better is the most exciting part about like the creative part of making music for me, is like looking back and seeing that progress is
Mm,
so cool to me.
yeah.
And that's really it just keeps me motivated to keep making new songs. The more I do it, the more interesting and unique the songs get, and that's what I love about it.
And you were on tour earlier this year with Dan CV as his opener. When you're performing to a crowd that might be less familiar with your music, how do you like to use that experience to determine what gets released and what makes this final album?
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to see how songs react live, because it can be
Mm,
differently than they react on the internet. The energy, the tempo, the feeling, and the emotion of the songs comes across a different way live. And especially coming out of the pandemic, I'm playing, going out on tour last year and this year, I'm playing a set list that I've never played before. I'm playing pretty much every song is a song I've never played before at that point. Just been releasing music steadily through the lockdowns and everything, right? And so it was interesting to go out there, and I had an idea of what my set list was going to look like, and I had an idea of what songs I should play based off of what had done well and what I wanted to play and whatever. And I think I gauged that pretty well. Like I got out there and I had chosen the right song to end with and the right song to start with, and the set felt really good. And then there's certain songs where they're a little slower, and so you have to put those in the certain part of the set list to make
yeah.
sure that people are ready for a slow song after you've played all these energetic songs or whatever. It really is like a whole kind of science to it. And I had a super fun time on the road testing out new songs as well. Specifically, about halfway through the tour, we got word on that we were going to do the tour only a few days before the tour started, so it was very quick turnaround to get on the road with everybody, and especially it started January 3rd. So, top of the year, we really just kind of jumped out of the house and started playing shows with not a ton of heads up, and I really wanted to release new music, and I had just finished before I left my first song for California Rain, the first single, which is "Love You Anymore," and it felt like the right song to come out with first this year. I really wanted to come out off the tour and put out a song. So about halfway through the tour, I figured let's just start playing it and see, get some live footage of it, see if people
Hmm.
react,
Yeah.
see if people like the song. And I played it. I think I like played the slowest version of it ever. I played like a 5 minute version of the song to the crowd in I think it was DC when I was on the road the first night I played it. And the thing with that song is like it's so lyrical, right? So I would pause between certain lyrics that I thought were really impactful, whatever, and just to hear the reaction from this crowd that didn't necessarily know who I was, definitely had never heard this song before, and like there are people crying in the audience with me playing
Mm,
the song for the first time. There's people like having like loud, visceral reactions to the lyrics, and they don't even know who I am really. I mean, that was an eye-opening thing. And that song specifically, that was definitely a driving factor for like, okay, we got to put this out. Like that was
yeah.
something special. I don't, not a lot of songs get that type of reaction, especially when you're playing to, not necessarily like a warm audience that knows who you are. So very interesting.
Yeah, that's an incredible experience. You've always made it your mission as an artist to connect with your audience. And as it's grown to, what was the number, like 10 million streams, how have you continued to make those connections?
I mean, I think the most important thing is, and I've always tried to do this and you've watched me do it for 4 years, 5 years now, is like these are these people who like are supporting me and coming to shows and streaming and buying merch and commenting and liking, like these are my friends, really. Like for them to show that much love on my music just without expecting anything in return, and just showing love. I mean, those that's my friends, that's my family right there. And so I just try
Mm.
to treat anybody supporting me, whether I know them personally or not. I mean, that's it doesn't get much more special than that. And so I just try to interact and be friends with as many people as I can possibly keep up with on the internet, because um I just think, like, I spent so long making music and I didn't have a fan base, and I was in bands that didn't have fan bases, and I wanted what I have now for a long time, and I will just never let go of that, and I will always do my best to send that love right back, because it's just amazing. I don't know any other way to put it.
It's well deserved as well, you know. And you went on an extensive writers retreat in Joshua Tree for this album. How did that environment and setting influence the tone and everything that we hear?
A lot. We went out to Joshua Tree with a lot of like tracks and just ideas started for the album. Like maybe like 20 or 30 different things that I just kind of started, whether they were 90% of the way there or 10% of the way there. And once we got there and we started like opening up the files and writing and workshopping them, it just felt like we were in such like a isolated, interesting environment, and it was just a different kind of feeling. And so we ended up kind of just pausing on all the things that we had done in preparation for the camp out there, and we just
Mm,
started writing fresh, whatever came to mind, whatever track we wanted to write. This Airbnb we stayed at out there had like a ton of vinyl too, so we were just like, we'd cook dinner, we'd throw on a vintage vinyl, and a lot of that was like influencing things, like whether we're thinking about it or not. Like we put on like this doo-wop vinyl. I couldn't even tell you the name of it, but it was like some like very retro feeling record. Listened to it while we had dinner, and then the next day we wrote Love You Anymore. And subliminally, there's that doo-wop
yeah.
kind of like background vocal thing in there, which I guess now looking back probably came from listening to that record the night before. So it it definitely played a lot into the development of the project, and just the isolation of being out there. Just it just kind of evokes like a different feeling around the music and around writing the music, that it would be hard to capture if you were just like sitting in at home.
Yeah.
So it definitely a totally different feeling coming from being out there.
And this industry has become very much a singles market, but you're one of the artists that continues to release these larger bodies of work. And you've done that so brilliantly, towing that line. Why has it been so important to you?
So I think in terms of music marketing, it's still important to put out singles, which I will
Yeah.
always do. And what I've really enjoyed doing the last few years is putting out these singles that I think define the project very well, and then eventually putting out the project after I have some love on the singles and all that a few months later. And that's kind of like a very modern music marketing way of doing things, I suppose. But I think it's important to highlight the songs that you think represent a project well. But I think in terms of developing and defining your own career, projects are important, eras are important,
Mm.
for fan building, giving people something to latch onto, a brand that they understand and can count on, and know what, not necessarily know what to expect, but to support and all that. I think it's important to give them more than just singles. Singles are a piece of the puzzle, but certainly not the whole puzzle. So,
Yeah. With this being your debut album, did anything surprise you about the experience putting it together? What's been the biggest takeaway thus far?
the biggest takeaway for doing a longer form project, um, I've never made this many songs for a project. I also wrote more songs than I ever have for a project, and selected 8 from the batch of 30 or 50 songs that I probably
Mm.
wrote for this record. And the biggest takeaway is just that when you're making so many different songs and with different people and in different places, you have to, the one thing that's going to tie it all together is me. So I have to stay really true to my vision for what I want an album to be. And I think it's important going into the creation of the album. You may not have an exact idea of what it's going to look
Yeah.
like, but you want to have, a vision kind of formalized in your own mind, so you can kind of communicate that to everybody who's working on it with you, whether that be the visuals or the marketing or the songwriting or the producing, whatever. Um, it all comes back to me. And so I need to know exactly what I want. And if I don't know what I want, then it's probably not time to start writing the record yet.
Mm.
Because then you kind of get a lot of different uncohesive things. And it being cohesive for an album or for a longer form project is one of the most important things for me. I love
Yeah.
artists who have really like done that well. That those are the brands and the music and the artists that I love, and so I'm aspiring to give that same type of experience to my listeners.
You've done that, and every song has your signature touch to it. This is gonna be a strange question, just giving your last answer, but if you had to choose a song off of California Rain that best encompasses who you are in this moment, which would it be and why?
I think the best representation, and this probably will change every day. If you're
Yeah.
asking tomorrow, I'll have a different answer for you. But right now, I'm going to say "Frequent Flyer" is the last single leading up to the project. We loved it from the day we made it. This is something we made in Joshua Tree, and again, was like not something planned at all. It just kind of one morning I'm making a beat, and I named it like "Smoothie Vibe" on my hard drive because I was having a smoothie while I made it, and then everybody kind of woke up and came and made breakfast, and while everyone was like having their food, we just wrote that song as our last day in the desert. Just came up out of nowhere. And I think for me it represents what I'm trying to do, or what I hope to do with this album and this project, which is kind of combine um, very musical type things, very chord heavy and highly detailed musical productions, and very well thought out lyrics and all that, just well put together things, but still making it commercial, and still
Mm.
making it something that like my mom or my dad would love, and not necessarily analyze it like I might, right? And so I think Frequent Flyer is a good representation of this record because it's something that I love, which is like a slow jam guitar vibe, but it's still got that pop chorus and those kind of buzzy lyrics. And I think it's just kind of a great middle ground for what I hear in my head for this album and for this project. So
Definitely. Obviously we go way back, and I think part of the evolution of this project and yourself as an artist are now these visual aesthetics that you've been able to include as well. You've teased that you've recorded a music video for each of this, almost every song on the album. Can you talk a little bit about how the creative vision and process for California Rain differs from previous releases and why that's been so fundamental to this debut album?
totally. I mean, like I said, a piece of the puzzle is the visuals, and that took some time to learn too. It's like,
Mm.
a lot of this, or first couple of years of this project, it was just music, music, music. Nah, no, whatever videos doesn't matter. The promotion is the music, right? And now I'm really enjoying the storytelling aspect of the videos, which it just took me a little time to kind of like get into that world. And I'm not like a videographer by trade or anything. That was never my thing, and so. And I'm still not by any means, but I can think of ideas, and I can work with creative and talented people to like execute that vision. And I think for this project, it was important. Like on previous projects, I've done very bright,
Yeah.
sunny beach, not on everything, but on a decent amount of things. And that was part of the brand for a while. And I think this time around, I wanted to toy with, well, what's the direct opposite of that? We're naming the album California Rain. Obviously, it would make sense to do something sunny and very California. What is the polar opposite potentially of that? And let's just toy around with what that might look like. And so when we did Love You Anymore, that was the first video before we even kind of fully strategized the visual rollout. And when we did that, it was twilight, and it was like pink and purple and dark blue and past sunset, really, much darker. and I think that matches the kind of tonality of the album as well, which is it being a little bit of a darker and moodier body of work. And so then when we went to make more videos for the remaining singles, and there's two more videos that haven't been released yet. We wanted to stay kind of like in that darker tone, in that color palette, which is like the pinks and the purples. And that right there kind of ties things together and makes it cohesive. And then from there, it's really just about executing like a cool idea around each video. And
Yeah.
so we take those ideas and those color palettes, but we go and we shoot, one video in a Boeing 777, and then we shoot one on a cliff in Malibu, and then we shoot one in a diner, or we get a rain truck to soak me in a parking lot, like you name it. We went crazy. On the music videos, but that was definitely a very fun process of trying to make it cohesive, tie little Easter egg things together. I think something with this project is that it's going to age very well as more and more
Yeah.
people find it. I think
Yeah.
they'll dig into kind of the fine points of all the little Easter eggs, and you can even hear things in the songs that are kind of tied together, lyrics that are tied together between different songs. There's a lot to unpack there, and I'm excited for everybody to kind of find that.
Yeah, but it definitely has a timeless quality to it. And you're also somebody who thrives on the live stage. And often when artists release albums or EP, they go on the road to support it. Is there a tour coming later this year?
Yes, I definitely will be on the road later this year. I'm excited to get back out there. Like I said, I was out with Daniel CV in January, and
Yeah.
that was a very a quick thing and an amazing thing that happened. And we're just so thankful for the opportunity to meet a lot of new fans and friends, and just get out there and go to cities I'd never been to and explore a little bit. And so you're right. I mean, that's the whole reason I started making music is to play shows and get out there and travel and meet people. And that's still number one for me. So I'll definitely be back on the road as soon as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you've built this extensive catalog, is there a song that will always make your set list? Is there one that will never?
Is there one song that will never make my set list, and is there one that will always? Yes, I think there probably is. Um, my song "Forget About You," which has been out for about a year now, is just one of those songs. I can see how people, um, given it a year for people to kind of find it now and listen to it. I think it's one of those songs where you could just tell how people feel about it. The tone and the feeling of the song is something that people can gravitate towards. It seems like, and so that's definitely a song that also I've seen significant growth of my
Yeah.
project around that specific song, and so I think that's one of those ones that like in 10 years it's going to still be in my set list. I would say if I had to future predict right now. Is there a song that will never make a set list? um I think I'm so proud of every song I have out, and every song, even down to the records I was releasing in 20 like 18, though not my favorite songs of mine anymore. Like I said before, like those are like a timestamp for where I was at that moment
Yeah.
and how I was making music and the quality of the music I was making. And so if one of those songs were to pop off and need to make its way into a set list, I think I'd probably rearrange it, but I think I like and play a different like maybe play an acoustic version of it or something. But I don't think there's any song that I would say would never make a set list, but I'll get back to you on that. I
That's
might
a
have
great
to
answer.
dig through the catalog. There might be some. Someone's gonna say, "Well, what about this song?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I don't want to play that one."
Yeah, one final question for you. Anyone who's followed your journey, seen the well-deserved success that you've had, and you've done that all as an independent artist. Why has that been so important to you?
you know, I really value my independence. I really value um, being in control and owning my works and my creativity across the board. I mean, I think if anything we've talked about in this interview, it's like it's all comes back to me, right?
Yeah.
And no matter what, I have to be at the center of like the vision and the growth of this project. And for me, there hasn't been a logical reason in today's music industry to sign that away. I've grown this with my immediate team and my lean machine of a company here, and my own record label and everything. And it feels so good when you build something with your friends and or with your family, really, you know, and that's just the best part about it. It feels so right. And now that we are seeing the project grow more and more, and more doors are opening and more opportunities and things are getting more and more exciting. I mean, that's extra incentive for me to stay independent because the hardest part is
Mhm.
getting started. And
Yeah.
at this point, we're past the point of getting started at least, and it feels good to be in control. And um, it allows us to kind of jump when we need to jump at a moment's notice, and no one can really stand in our way, and there's no obstacles, and there's something that's very valuable for in having that the ability to do what we want. And so I love that, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.